Hey there, Michelle. What's shaking?
Oh, not too much, Lindsay. Lindsay, when was the last time you ate at a restaurant?
Oh my gosh. I ate at a fast casual place over the weekend. It was actually a banh mi place, which was really good.
Ooh.
But it was more of the kind where, they bring it to your table. It's not table service. It's more like counter service, but they bring it to you kind of. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What
Uh-huh.
about you, Michelle? Did you go out to eat this weekend?
Um, did I go out to eat this weekend? I didn't go out, but I did Indian takeout. I brought Indian
Oh,
home.
nice.
So
Nice.
that's always a good choice. When you go to a restaurant though, do you tend to order cold or hot food, or does it depend on the time of day or
I think it depends on the time of the day. I'm more likely to order, and this is something that's interesting, that's different, I think, between our culture and maybe European cultures. I really
Yeah.
like a good sandwich, like a cold lunch.
Yeah.
I don't mind something hot, but I'm not used to it. I don't need it. I don't need
Yeah.
a hot lunch in the middle of the day, a full meal. Because when I think hot meal, I think full meal, like a
Right.
cooked meal.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Are you in the same page on the same
Yeah,
page?
I think
Yeah.
I would say that I eat a lot of sandwiches for lunch or
Yeah.
salad, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say it depends on the time of the day. But today, so this is gonna be a lot of fun, Lindsay. We're gonna talk about a
Okay.
very common situation that
Yeah.
happens at restaurants and what
Yes.
you can say. And this really gets into culture as well. So
Big
I'm gonna
time.
be very curious to hear feedback from our listeners. Um,
Yes. Yes. I think it's,
so yeah,
we can learn the language all day, every day. But then when we're in a culture, we don't have those cues or know what those
yes.
norms are. And that could really get us into some trouble. Right,
Yep.
Michelle?
Yep, exactly. So before we get into this more, we are going to share some poll results that we have from our Spotify poll from a little while ago. So that was from episode 2385. Oh my gosh, that was a fun one. It was Order in the Court, Everyday Courtroom English.
Oh my gosh. I am excited to see if we can record more episodes like this because, well, obviously now we know everyone loves almost everyone, Michelle, loves a good courtroom drama. What was the question? Yeah, it was again, do you like to watch courtroom shows? Yes or
Yeah,
no, right?
yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So
so I
what
was
were the
pretty
results?
I was pretty surprised actually because it was even more than I kind of imagined. So, yes was 77% of our listeners who answered the poll, and no was 22, I guess 23%. If probably there's a rounding error there, but
Yeah.
yeah, so 22% don't. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
really watch them. I'm okay with a courtroom movie, but I don't really watch the shows. Yeah.
Yeah, I know we always have on TV is Special Victims Unit,
Yes.
SVU. What is it?
Yep.
Law and Order, SVU.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
that's kind of a crime and a courtroom show. It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But why do you think people, Aubrey and I chatted about this a few weeks ago. Why are people so intrigued by true crime, courtroom stuff, legal stuff?
I guess because there's a lot of information that you can find out. It's almost like a mystery, right? You're
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
solve something. That's what I would say. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think people love to solve the crime. It goes back to you remember the movie Clue? It's all
Mhm.
about solving the crime. People love that stuff.
Right.
So I'm not shocked by our results here on Spotify.
Well, guys, thank you for answering that poll. Yeah, definitely check out that episode 2385 again.
Yes.
So, Lindsay, the situation that we're going to talk about is when someone's food comes out before someone else's and
Yes.
you're sitting at the table, you get your food and or maybe most of the people get their food and the other person doesn't get their food yet. So
Awkward moment, Michelle.
food doesn't always come out at the same time, of course, right? It depends. I mean, maybe some restaurants try and make sure that that happens, but a lot of times, it could be that someone's waiting, somebody ordered a burger well done, and theirs is gonna
Right.
take longer, right? So it really
Right.
depends. So,
Yes.
Lindsay, so the question is, if your food comes out first, do you start eating or do you wait?
You're
What's
checking
the
my
between the
manners right now,
2?
Michelle. You're checking
Yes.
my manners. Well, my answer is no, I don't. Oh, wait, I don't start diving in. The only exception to that is if I've ordered an appetizer. And first, usually when I order an app, I want to share the app, right? So it'd be in the middle. I think that's the easiest thing to do. But if for some reason there was an appetizer like a pre-meal salad that I had ordered myself, I would start eating
Right,
that because the person
right, that
knows
makes
you
sense.
ordered an app. I didn't order an app. But
Right.
no, Michelle, otherwise it's awkward. It's awkward. I sort of, what I'll do is I'll sort of like maybe pick up my fork and pick at it a little bit just to not,
Yeah.
because, but then the other person has to give me a cue to
Yep,
start
yep,
eating. And
yep.
it's, oh man.
Yeah, so this is a very common situation. So guys, you will find yourself in these situations. And I think to me, people do both. People might wait or they might not. And I think it depends on how your meal is supposed to be eaten. So yeah,
Yes.
like
Hmm.
if I get a salad,
Hmm.
let's say not an appetizer salad. Let's say my main meal is a salad. I'd
Okay.
probably wait because it's meant to be cold,
It can be
right?
cold. Yes, it should be cold.
Yes,
Yes.
it should be cold, and so I'm not gonna be in a rush to eat it. It's not waiting a few minutes is fine. Now, if I get a soup or a pizza, something that's meant to be eaten hot, there is a chance that I will eat, but
Yeah.
we have to go into
Yeah.
that now, right? Like,
Right, right. I mean, I think for me, it's all about the cues. It's almost like getting permission from your dining partner to go ahead. And I think it's all the responsibility is on the person who doesn't have their meal yet to say something like, "Oh, please, please start eating. I don't want it to get cold," in a way.
right. Yep.
Um,
Yep,
right?
exactly, because if you wanna eat, that's okay, but I mean, on your end, you know, you might just say, "I'm sorry, I'm eating, I just didn't want it to get cold," right? But again, like
Yeah.
Lindsay says, I think in that situation, it may actually make sense for the person who didn't get their food yet to say something,
Oh,
like,
it more than makes sense. I think they should and they need to. And the other person should be waiting in a sense. I mean, yes, like you can go ahead and eat, but I would feel a little weird saying that. Like, I'm sorry, I'm eating and I'm already eating. Maybe that could be a personality difference. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I don't know. I think it depends. We'll also talk about relationships. I mean, like,
Yes, of course.
I think it's okay if you're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm eating." You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I see people do that, or I might do it. It
Yeah,
really depends on the relationship. There's so
it
many
does.
things that go into this situation that's
Yes.
seemingly very simple, but there's a lot that could go into it. Like, I'm sure if you're with your partner, your
Yeah,
parents, your
oh,
whatever,
yeah.
it's
Oh,
totally
no, no, no,
different.
no. Totally. Yeah, so, if we're in a business lunch or
Yes,
someone
yes,
new, it's a very different and no question you're gonna wait for some kind of cue.
exactly.
And in these situations, we kind of just hope everyone has a certain level of social skill, right?
Yes,
Because
yeah.
otherwise someone's staring at a meal getting cold a little bit, right? So,
Right, right.
yeah.
So you have to
Okay.
kind of be aware of what you know, if somebody else gets their food first, what is it? I mean, if
Right.
you're if this happens and you're waiting for your food, pay attention. What are they eating? If it's
Yes.
cold, I would say it's fine unless like I don't know. If it's taking such a long time, then that's another situation. But
Yeah, yeah.
generally, if it's somebody if you know, somebody has a soup or somebody has a
Yeah.
pizza, a chicken, a hot meal, you know, you wanna pay attention. So, I mean,
Yes.
what can you say if you're that
Yes.
person and you wanna give that permission?
Yes,
That they
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, Michelle. So that's what we're saying. We're teaching the phrases today for the person who does not have the food yet, right? Because, like we said, the responsibility is kind of on that person to go ahead and let the person know, please eat. So, what we can say, one thing is, oh, don't wait for me. Don't wait
Mhm.
for me. Please eat, right?
Yeah,
Or a
please eat,
combination
yeah.
of these things, really a combination, right? Or eat. Don't let your food get cold, please, right?
Right,
And there would be some gesturing, and that would be a warm, and that would give that person permission. Okay, I'll eat slowly, I'll pick up
right,
my fork, that sort of thing, right?
right. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Okay, Michelle, this is great. I mean, I do wonder what it is in other cultures, if it's
Same.
a similar cue that's expected or if it's something different.
Yes,
Fascinating.
I wonder too. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about as I was planning this. I'd definitely be curious to hear from our listeners. I mean, another thing is if you get your food first, it's good to check in, right? Especially if it's
Yeah.
taking a long time. So for the if the other person doesn't have their food and it's 10 minutes that everyone's waiting,
Yes.
or even you could still just say, "Oh, you didn't get your food yet," or "Your food didn't come yet."
Or yeah, exactly, and there's a lot of variations. We can say, "I wonder what's going on with your food,"
Right.
or you could maybe take the lead of raising your hand and just inquiring and saying
Yeah.
and learning about the status of the meal, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
It's
Michelle
it's just
yeah,
yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's just good, to show that you care if you're aware of what's going on with these things, that the other person should be eating as well, right?
Right, because to me, it seems very asynchronous and weird if one person is just shoveling food into their mouth and the other person is just kinda sitting there looking around. It's just very weird. It's very
Right.
weird. It's kind of antithetical to what dining together means and what you're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah,
So
that's a good point, right? Because you don't wanna eat your whole thing and then they get their food, right? And then they're
yeah.
eating it's just something doesn't feel right. It seems silly, but it's just something about actually eating together.
Yeah. I mean, I think a good restaurant won't let this happen most of the
Right.
time unless it's some kind of exceptional dish that has to go out right away. Most good restaurants will make sure you're served at the same time, right?
Right, right,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
exactly, or in a few minutes of each other,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, I mean, Lindsay, so, yeah, we were kinda talking about the relationships and how it could change depending on how you're how close you are with someone, if it's at a business lunch, I mean,
Mhm.
if to me, you probably don't need to say much to someone you're super close with. You might say, "Oh, sorry, I'm eating," but you might
Mhm.
not. Like, if Dan gets something and I mean, then he'll probably be picking at my food, right? There are some people where it's just
Exactly.
so you're
Oh,
close to them, you don't need to think about this really.
well, that's actually a good point. So, unless you have like a salad, which is kind of awkward to share, if you get served first and they give you permission to go ahead and eat, I might say, "Would you like to share?"
Yeah.
would you like some? Would you like to try some? I might make that more of a community dish at that point. And salads are a little awkward, but anything that could be shared, I would say, please share. Let's share. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably really common globally. I think globally, like when I lived in Japan, Michelle, it was all sharing. And I love
Mhm,
that. I love
mhm,
that style.
mhm,
In the
mhm.
izakaya, we would go out. No one had their own plate. No one.
Right,
We
right,
just ordered, and you probably did this in Japan too. We just ordered like 10 plates for a
right,
table of 10 of us. And
right.
then we just pick and
Everybody picks it.
it was amazing.
And what
Yeah.
do we call this? Do you know what I this is what I call this, but I don't know if are you thinking of
I
the
know there's
same
a word.
term?
I don't have a word in my
I
head.
would call this family style.
Yeah, family style. Yes, totally.
That's
That's
but I don't know if everybody calls it that. So, like, that's where it just everybody picks at it. You're not getting, one this happens a lot if, like, for example, we order Chinese food. There are certain cuisines that if we
mhm.
order, we generally tend, "Oh, we're gonna order a few dishes," and just everybody
Yeah.
takes a little bit of everything, so you get to try it.
You get to try it, and I also think you end up eating a little less, at least I know I did in Japan for sure because the servings are smaller, which was great, but in the US, I think we tend to get a big plate of sort of maybe sometimes sort of average food,
Yeah.
whereas in my travels, I would share a plate of great food, and I would rather share a plate of great food. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong,
Oh.
we have some good restaurants in the US, but you know what I mean. It's a
Yeah, yeah,
different
yeah.
style. Mhm.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly, exactly. So this is, I think overall, we want to think about who we're with. If you're at a business lunch, I
Yes.
would say definitely wait. Just how formal is it? Who are
Mhm.
you with? How well do you know them?
Yeah.
And I think that's what it really comes down to. I don't think that with your spouse you have to really wait and be so formal.
No, I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah,
But
for
let's
sure.
do a couple role plays of how this would look.
Okay, here we are friends, and I ordered a salad and it came out first, but it's been 2 minutes, so you, Michelle, are just sitting there twiddling your thumbs,
Twiddling.
right?
Yep.
All right, here we go. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking of starting to pick at my food and I say, "Oh, your food didn't come out yet?"
No, it's okay. Please eat. Don't wait for me.
"It's okay. It's a salad. I'll wait for you."
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and honestly, in a conversation, you may just continue the conversation. So here, after I say, you say, "Oh, it's okay, it's a salad. I'll wait for you,"
Mhm.
right? Your next thing, you might just go back to what we were talking about, right?
Right.
You might just, "Oh, and what about this thing that happened last week?" It's
Right,
it's so
right.
organic and natural, right?
Right, it does, you're right, it does just kinda slip into in the very middle of a
Yes.
conversation, right. Somebody
Yes.
might be like, for example, you might have been in the beginning of that role place telling a story, so anyway,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden you look out because you started to eat, and
Yes.
then you say, "Wait, your food didn't come yet?" And then
Yes. It's very organic. It's
interesting.
very much yeah, that is really interesting. So, should we go into scenario 2 here, Michelle?
Scenario 2, we are coworkers now at a business lunch. We are
Okay.
moderately close. So
Okay.
I got a soup,
Okay.
maybe a
Mhm.
butternut squash soup, I don't know.
Ooh,
And it
yum.
yeah, and it came out first, and Lindsay didn't get her food yet. Oh, no. Okay,
Oh, awkward. Okay.
okay,
Alright.
here we go. Sorry, Lindsay, I'm eating. I'm just so hungry.
Michelle, please eat. Don't let your soup get cold.
Okay, thanks, Lindsay.
Yeah, yeah. Nice.
Amazing.
Okay, love it. Yeah, so that's another way. Some of this comes down, like we said, relationship, your personality, how hungry you are at times. We're all a little bit different around this particular moment of taking the initiative, going ahead to eat. But the point is articulating it, right? And a lot of the onus is on the person who didn't get the food. I think that's one of our key points for today, right?
Yes, exactly. So in this role play, I got the food and then I went for it and I said,
Hmm.
"Sorry, Lindsay, I'm eating. I'm just so hungry." I mean,
Yes.
listen, I think if you at least say something, I think it's okay personally. If we're
Yeah.
especially because I said we're moderately close, but again, it's generally probably better to wait for the other person. But here you
Yeah.
weren't saying anything, Lindsay. So what choice did I have?
I know, right? It's on the person who didn't get their food. Again, like we said, so keeping in mind for our listeners, if you notice that the person got their food and you're sitting there, it's on you to go ahead and please say something, right? That's our recommendation, our cultural recommendation. We love
Cultural
it.
recommendation, and then you said, "Please eat, don't let your soup get cold." So then
Yeah.
you gave me that permission, but I had already done it.
I guess you could also, what I might do. So this is a personality difference, and if I were in this scenario, I might actually say, "Do you mind if I start? I'm worried it's going to get cold." Something
Right,
like that. Yeah.
right, right,
But
right.
that's just personal preference or personal style, right? Love it.
Right, and again, it just depends also, like, I'm thinking about, a lunch that I went to recently, and it
Mhm.
was I didn't know the people, it was something for, my husband's work, and it was, like everybody was very casual, even though I didn't know them very
Yeah.
well. It's you gotta feel for the group, you know?
Yeah,
So,
totally, totally.
anyway.
There's a lot of what we have to do is just sense the environment and get a sense of what's going on. So love it.
Exactly.
What's our
Alright.
takeaway for today? I mean, that's the takeaway. Be proactive in communicating, right? In these
Right.
scenarios, right?
Right. Right, exactly. Don't be in a daze when your food comes out, right? No,
Yes.
you have to do some thinking and checking and just, it's nothing crazy or anything too serious, but do a little quick scan and see if everybody has their food.
Yeah, taking care of the person in front of us, right? That's good communication and connection. So, guys, go ahead and hit the follow button on this show to make sure you get more All Ears English. All right.
All right.
Good
All right,
stuff.
Lindsay.
All
Now
right.
I'm hungry. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. All right. I'll talk to you soon, Michelle. Have a good one.
All
Bye.
right, bye.